Where my soul takes flight from a culture, I plant the seeds of love and light. On this funky beat from a culture, D-I-M-P, can't be. Let's dance and dream. Be cash, keep it clean. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we are. Episode 421 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and sometimes even prostitutes. But folks, we're going to get into it hot and heavy tonight with a couple of doctors you're going to want to know about. Good night. I mean, they knocked my socks off when I had a couple of conversations with them. And I think the same thing is going to happen with you tonight. Now, if anybody's wondering why we're not on our regular YouTube channel, it's because any single time we talk about anything of a medical nature, the powers that shouldn't be over at YouTube put the brakes on us. So don't be discouraged. We're going to break it down and chop it up into segments that they will approve, and we'll put it out in shorts. That way, more and more and more and more people. And folks, we're going to ask everybody out here, whether in the listening audience or in the video audience, no matter where you are, we're going to ask you to promote this stuff, because this is information in a time of universal deceit. Telling the truth is a revolutionary act. I think it was Orwell that said that. Well, this episode, y'all, as always, brought to you by the Sovereign Health Summit. That's going to be on October 27th through the 31st. Over in Harmony, North Carolina, we got Barbara O'Neill as our headliner, and TPC will get you 5% off of there. And then, folks, all the people that are beating me up right now about the world's best deer repellent that I just happen to make right here high atop Billy's Jungle Palace of Love here in Mars Hill, North Carolina. You can get some right now at our website. Everybody's been blowing me up about this stuff. I finally got a batch made right before the rain and snow and all the other stuff coming in. So we got that over there. Also, Nessa's Hemp. Had her on the other day, and that was another one, folks, I couldn't put live on YouTube. If you want some of that stuff, that CBDA that she's selling over there, 10% off with promo code PERMA. And then finally, if you want some of these ball and blue light blockers that I got on right now, Bond Charge, BONCHARG, 15% off with promo code PERMA. All right, y'all, I'm handling all the housekeeping up front because I don't want to take any time away from my guests. Folks, I'll just give you a brief rundown of the experience that I've had with them. And folks, you're going to want to pay attention to this, and you're going to want to spread it out to everybody else, because they blew me away. And folks, I don't say that lightly. There are a few people out there that when I have an interaction with them and they come sometimes even highly recommended, all of us may think, well, those folks were more polished than spit and more glitter than grit. Well, the very opposite happened with me. And I'll be honest with you, folks, they blew me away. And we're going to cover some of that right here in this podcast. And it makes it really tough for me to know where to start, because since I've been doing what they've recommended for me for 12 days now, and I got to say, I've never slept better in my life. Never slept better in my life. And I'm hoping that's, an indication of other things to come. But they are all those broken pieces that I still hadn't had worked out. They seem to be working out, and other things that were going on with me seem to be improving. I don't know if I'm a special case, but man, it's, folks, you're going to want to check them out. So with that said, I'm not going to mess around any longer. I'm going to bring on Dr. Greg and Elena. Wow. And these guys are from the Vita Institute. They came highly recommended, and I am going to just kick it over to your court and ask, look, take as much time as you need. Every superhero has an origin story. So let's hear about yours. Tell us what brought you to this work.
Sure. Thank you, Billy, and thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you and your viewers. So I'm Dr. Greg Hyde. I'm a MD, PhD. I did my medical school at the University of Washington, and did a residency in otolaryngology, which, if you don't speak Latin, is ear, nose, and throat. And I worked in that for 30 years, but I used that as a starting point to basically learn more and more about the body, because this is where everything comes into the body. So it was kind of a good way to access all the other systems. So I've done training in things like sleep medicine, endocrinology, My PhD is in neuroscience, and so I've done a lot of research and work in the nervous system field. I studied neurodegeneration, so I know a little bit about how to keep the brain working long term using hearing loss as a model, but it carries over to things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's as well. And then I'll let Elena kind of give a little bit of her background, then we can talk about how we met.
So basically what he just said is really smart, really, really smart.
Yeah, that was very, very obvious from the moment.
Always learning.
Yeah, so, and I am Elena Marr, and I'm a board-certified naturopathic doctor with a background in chemistry, but also music. I love to dance and sing, and so, you know,
we dance together.
Yeah, we do dance together, and I played classical guitar as a child, so, you know, sound and music has always been, you know, part of my life, and it turns out my gift as well. So I started as a naturopath and, you know, working with herbs and diet and all those things. And
why don't you tell them why you became a naturopath?
I became a naturopath because I moved to the United States from Italy at the age of 30. And I had never received any vaccines ever. And I came into the States and I was told that I had to do all of the vaccines. It was like maybe like at least 15, 16 vaccines in one day, literally, if I wanted to become a citizen, and my life changed.
Wow.
My body just wasn't able to handle, you know, all of that information. Let's put it that way, all of that information all at once. And 2 years after that, I had a child. By the time it was, I was able to delay some of the vaccinations until it was like 1 year and 8 months, 9 months. And then he received, I think, 6 of them, the MMR and some other ones. And, you know, the moment that he received the vaccinations, I mean, within like 20 minutes, half an hour, had a severe reaction. I brought him back to the pediatrician the day after, and they told me that they didn't notice any difference. My child could barely walk and was, you know, stumbling and putting his head on the wall. I mean, it was just obviously a vaccine reaction. And my life changed for the better after that, because I have learned so much, you know, through helping him and myself. And that's where I started studying as a naturopath and learning about herbs and food and everything that God has made, and seeing if I can find a natural solution. So it just kind of everything improved, and you know, thank God, everything improved slowly until I finally came across sound. And under the form of a tuning fork. When you activate a tuning fork, you know, generally I used it as a form of calming anxiety, because as you apply on the body in different area, it just kind of brings a sense of calmness,
right?
You know, because well,
your body resonates with certain frequencies, and so some that are in harmony with you are going to be calming. If it's out of harmony with you, it'll cause an alert sensation. So everything has frequency.
Yeah, right. But when I activated the tuning fork, I realized that the tuning fork changed the vibration, and it changed the intensity of the vibration, the pitch, because you can hear it, you know, if you put it close to your ear. It would also change how the vibration was going down through my arm and my hand. And I realized that when I activate the tuning fork close to an area in the body that is healthy and in harmony, the vibrations are smooth as one of our clients says, as a hummingbird, right? And when you activate the tuning fork on an area that is in distress, out of harmony, whether there's disease or there's a virus or there's a parasite or a plastic toxin or a heavy metal toxin,
a mold, chronic infection,
the vibration of the tuning fork changes every time in a slightly different way. And every pathogen, every toxin, every like mold, every vitamin, even every genetic mutation, every heavy metals,
hormonal imbalances, neurotransmitter imbalances, all of these can be detected this way.
You can literally activate the tuning fork and listen to the entire, you know, enzymatic process, biochemical reactions, everything in the body And when this changes, something regarding your B1 or your estrogen or your mercury toxicity or a virus, an herpes or a strep, it will change and will give me exact information about, what is the pathogens that's in the body, what deficiencies do we have, which genetic mutation is the person have. Do we have an anemia, low iron? Is the iron really low, or is it depositing in the brain causing seizure, or is it depositing in the liver and causing liver toxicity? Because a lot of the blood work coming out as anemia, in reality, the iron is hiding away, creating toxicity in other parts of the body. This one tells us something that the blood work does not.
Because we're listening to the entire system rather than just, doing a reductionistic, looking at one little tiny segment of it. So
yeah. So I thought I'd have some fun, and I thought, well, why not? I'm just gonna go. I was working in a private practice at the time, and these doctors would have hundreds of little vials of
samples basically to make homeopathic extracts out of
all the kind of these amoeba, and there would just be
different metals and
HPV, metals, mercury, even
viruses,
glyphosate. So I thought, well, why don't I go and listen to all of that and familiarize myself with what they sound like? And I might as well, then going to put this in my memory bank, in my file, and learn a completely new language. So that when I listen to people, or I listen to even like animals or plants, I can find that word, that vibration that gives me precise information on what is going on with the animal or the person, the patient, the client. But even plants, I can hear plants and find the deficiency or something that is missing, or even to the soil.
Right.
I remember listening to like a farm that was doing regenerative farming, and they had a lot of they would sell the cows and meat and all of
they
that.
had the standard, the chickens, the pigs, and then the cows.
But as I was listening to the soil, I was finding a deficiency in vitamin B12 and some of the B vitamin. And I couldn't understand why until I went and visited in person, because actually it was built in the middle of
the high tension power lines went right through the field. So they had all this electromagnetic radiation that was coming down and interfacing with the plants and the animals.
So that's when really that suggestion to just kind of enrich the soil with some things that are, some of the herbs and plants that are high in B vitamins and some things, that was very helpful. They were very grateful for that piece of information. So, these can be used in so many different, how do you call it?
Any kind of relationship.
Any relationships.
We've even had some of our clients ask us to check out their daughter's boyfriend.
No, okay.
I want to come to that. In a minute, but folks, I'm telling you, they blew my mind with what they told me about me that I didn't tell them. They had no idea. I know this, for a number of people out there that are hooked up with the allopathic system, they're going to think this is a little bit too far-fetched. But folks, they wouldn't be on this show right now if I didn't already have experience with them. And they were telling me things about my life that and I didn't even tell them this, that honestly almost had me in tears, because I'm like, how on earth did they possibly know that? But we'll come to that in a minute. So Dr. Elena, it's not uncommon for me to think, okay, well, you're a naturopath and you're using these tuning forks, but Dr. Greg, let me ask you, because you come from a reductionist allopathic
background. Yes.
I think that he fell in love with me, and he said, "Well, I better learn this."
Yeah, so I want to know what, from you coming from, it tells me a lot about you, knowing that you come from this very reductionistic system where, oh, you got high blood pressure, let's give you this. You got this problem, let's give you that. How on earth, you had to be a hard sell on this, or maybe you weren't. How did that work out for you?
I graduated in the top 1% of my medical school class. And, I earned my PhD during my residency, which I don't recommend. I wrote and funded 6 grants. And at the end, actually wrote an NIH grant that was funded but because I was a resident, it couldn't come to me. It went to my graduate advisors. So yeah, very, very steeped in science and whatnot. And, that was a good preparatory background for me. But when I got out into practice, God had other plans for me. And so in 1998, I woke up one Sunday morning with a bad headache and had a grand mal seizure by the end of the day. Next thing I remember is a neurosurgeon standing over me telling me I have a tumor in my brain. He's standing on the left side of my gurney and with a CT scan in his hand. He knows I'm a physician. He's saying it's right here. And I say, I can't see it. And then he finally thinks for a second and comes over to the right side of me and shows me, and now I can, because the tumor is in my occipital lobe, which is the visual cortex, and it had stopped working. I wasn't picking up or able to translate any of the images that were coming in from the left side of my body. It's called the homonymous hemianopsia. So I ended up having neurosurgery done on me. Opened up the back of my head, went in to remove the tumor. It turned out it wasn't a tumor, it was an abscess.
From where?
From a tooth, but I didn't figure that out for 15 years. I had all these infectious disease guys going over me, trying to figure out how I got a strep in my brain. They never figured it out. I later learned that root canals can go bad and create a chronic infection called a cavitation in the jaw.
Yes.
I had a CT scanner that I used for the sinuses. So I jumped in there, hit the button, and sure enough, I lost a centimeter of bone around that root canal tooth from this chronic infection. So I don't have the tooth anymore. I finally went and got it fixed. But as a result of that, I had lost all this vision. It was potentially ending my career as a surgeon, not being able to see anything on this side of my body. I was practicing in Oklahoma at the time. And shortly after I got out of the hospital, a friend of mine, Steve, shows up at my door. He's a Native American, and he hands me a cedar flute. And he says, Greg, this is your flute. This is not like other flutes. This is a medicine man's flute. This is meant to heal, and this is your flute. And if you'll play this, I promise you your vision will come back. And I, for some reason, believed him. And God had prepared me because I played woodwinds in band growing up. I played the clarinet, and this looked just kind of like a clarinet, So I had a bunch of oak trees in my backyard, and so I made it a practice from that time on, going out there and trying to figure out how to make tones on this flute. And after a while, it started to work, and very quickly my vision came back. So dramatically so that I was astonished. I told my neurosurgeon, he couldn't believe that it was back. They had me on all these medicines trying to get the swelling out of my brain, and of course high dose antibiotics and everything that were giving me lots of side effects that kept me in and out of the hospital for 3 months. But the ultimately, when I got back to practice, I had to go up and prove what my vision was. So I went and saw a neuro-ophthalmologist at the University of Oklahoma. And he put me in a machine to test all of my visual fields. And he looked at the report as I came out of the machine, and he says, well, that can't be right. Get back in there. And so he ran it again. And he pulled out the second report, and he goes, well, that's just like the first one. And I said, well, what's the problem? And he says, the problem is there is no problem. You have perfect vision, and you shouldn't. You've had a neurosurgeon plow through your brain. You've had a strep in there destroying neurons, and yet your vision is perfect. There are absolutely no holes or deficits in any of your vision, and I can't explain that. What? So that was God kind of hitting me over the head saying, you think you know how the body works? You need to start studying sound.
Yes.
You need to figure out how that flute that Steve made allowed your body to return to its normal state of being. And so that was in 1998. And ever since then, that has been my hobby. I have studied sound and healing through, Aborigines and different, ancient civilizations and all that type of thing. And I started to see patterns. One of the most amazing patterns is that the creation story in every religion begins with sound. There's a word, there's singing, there's something that
and God
speaks. Yeah, and that's what changed the energy into the physical nature. And so why not use sound to recreate or restore balance where it has been lost? Okay.
And sound kind of interacts with water. The
Beautifully,
water.
Yeah. Water is a superconductor of sound, 5 times the speed of transmission in water versus air.
And that's why I love using sound to do what some actual doctors said, well, I know what you do, Elena. I said, well, you do? What? You do muscle testing on steroids. So you're able to tell, what is going on with the body very quickly. But I think it's because the sound interfaces and interacts with the water, and water holds information.
Right.
I always remember about Dr. Emoto's experiments.
Yeah.
And water, so basically this instrument reads the information that is stored in the water of our body. And then it also has a therapeutic effect as well as a diagnostics effect.
Yeah. So we didn't know anything about you, Billy, but your body knows you. And we store all this information of all of our experiences, all the things that we go through chronologically in the water of our body. And then we can interface with our thought, the vibration of our tuning fork with various areas of your body. And we can say, well, at this age, this happened. And we can get it down to even the month and the week and maybe even the day if we want to go that specific. But most people will immediately understand what we're referencing, and they'll go, oh yeah, okay. So none of us has a perfect life. We all go through stuff. We have traumatic experiences, and really a trauma doesn't have to be a bad injury. It's just any time that something happens to us and internally we say, I never want to experience that again. That's a trauma. We've changed the way we look at the world. We've put up a block or a resistance. And in so doing, we've created a barrier for energy to potentially flow in that area. So we're able to help people identify those areas, remove that block, restore the energy flow, and then the real healing ensues as a result.
And in the process, actually learning something about themselves, because, the most astonishing thing is that once I realized that also emotions have a vibration. So for example, I'm making, like a simple, very silly example, but if the emotion of fear, when somebody comes to our clinic, clinic or office, and it talks about being abused or something and speaks with the fear of the day of the abuse, this tuning fork will give me the sound of fear. But then, I am just kind of going into certain viruses or bacteria. Some of them have, guess what? They don't just have their own vibration. Their vibration matches the exact vibration of a very specific trauma or emotion. So sometimes we hold on to certain pathogens or certain toxins because they're resonating with a message of something that, we were not ready to deal with at the time that it happened, but that is just coming back into our conscious from the subconscious, and it's part of our healing. So, this is not just about, how do we approach a viral infection or toxicity, but also helping the person understand that there's a message behind it. And the message generally is always very positive, and it's part of a growth that your body is excited to start.
Right. So as I went through my own illnesses, as I figured out what the message was and asked God to show that to me, then there wasn't a need for the illness anymore. and so I was able to overcome and rapidly heal much more quickly as a result. So
I think people are going to be maybe not as, I think they're going to be way more receptive now to what you're doing than they were prior to COVID, because good night. I mean, there are so many people out there that have some serious buyer's remorse about having taken that jab. There's a number of people out there that realize that a lot of the things going on in this medical system, whether, Dr. Mack has just put out a thing the other day, the number of people that have succumbed to, like he was talking about Canadian doctors and all the ones that took that jab. I mean, it's like they're dropping like flies. Yeah. And a number of others as well. So I'm wondering, was that the motive for you to start? Because I want to kind of circle back to myself here in a minute, but was that your motive to start the Vita Institute? I mean, realizing that what you guys are doing out there, expanding, if you will, I think it'd be accurate to say, maybe I'm wrong, on the work of Dr. Emoto, who, folks, if you don't know about Dr. Emoto, good night. You will find out that your intentions, your words, they do have power, just like straight out of the book of James. Everything you say, everything you think, all these things can be, even what you write. I mean, Dr. Emoto even proved that you write bad or good intentions on a glass of water. When they flash freeze it and look at it under a microscope, it makes all the difference in the world. It's funny you bring that up because I brought him up in the last, I think, couple of podcasts. But I want to know, is that the reason why you guys stretched out and started the Vita Institute? Because what
Yeah.
you're doing isn't really being done out there in the Western world.
No, very different.
No, I tell you, we have worked with some major world-renowned, even scientists that, like I said, oh my God, I was so nervous because I'm like, this person's famous. But, that they've gone to the best of the best and they said, nobody can figure this out. And it's just, to me, what is mind-boggling is that, you can do all the blood work, all the tests you want, but the problem is that, with the test is not reflective of what's really going on inside an organ. They're not going to take your liver out to do, most of the time to do a biopsy to check things, or even with breast cancer, you're like, oh my God, I had this lump. And now when I listen to the lump, it's all calcification. So you have no idea also how many people are coming to me and they say, wait, what? I have got calcium? Yeah, so there's other things we can do to just dissolve the calcium and all of that. But
decrease the inflammation. The calcium's there because of a reason.
Once you realize that calcium has a vibration, and then you're listening to somebody's breast, it's like, oh, I know this. Also, that if there's an infection in the breast, or if there is an area of low pH, you will also know their vibration. It wasn't that. A lot of the times, it's amazing how it's not those, but it's just some calcification. Because there were times where we're holding, situations in our life where we were not able to nourish ourselves. And that creates some disturbances in the breast. And so very often, with some energetic work and just doing the right protocol, we've helped women that were
diagnosed with cancer that don't have cancer anymore.
Right. No, absolutely.
So we weren't treating the cancer, we were treating the underlying things. We look at cancer as the body actually trying to solve a problem.
Right.
And we help identify, here's the problem. And once we resolve that problem, there's no reason for the cancer to be there.
Right.
So often, even with chronic infections, we beat up on the bugs. I'm an ear, nose, and throat doctor, which is basically a specialty of infectious disease of the ears, nose, and throat. And so I was taught how to prescribe antibiotics and do surgeries to try to replumb things and whatnot. The bugs are there for a reason, and you just have to understand the message. And once you do that and realize it's nature trying to restore balance to a broken system, then things can change very quickly once you start looking at it that way.
Yeah, but also I think, I feel very passionate about the fact that, other people, I want other people to, especially if people feel that their music is their gift, because not everybody obviously, can pick this up in just an hour. It takes time to develop a new language. But, you can listen. We're listening to a huge conference, this big doctor talking, and then somebody was challenging his point of view out of nowhere. Hundreds of people calling, say, what you're saying, Dr. So-and-so is wrong. And then the guy starts having a seizure. When I'm listening to the guy as this happens, I'm finding out that there's a bunch of oxidized iron in his brain. So you know how much we can help people if we can listen and use sound and help the person immediately. If we know what the root cause is. What?
So the crazy thing is we don't have to be in the physical presence of the individual for this to work.
Right.
Prior to COVID, we didn't know that.
We didn't know COVID did that.
We were on the road, all but about 3 days of the month, going in person and doing sessions with people.
I literally thought I had to be doing this, listen to the body and scan the body up and down. But you really, when I see you, or we're talking over the phone and I visualize you or I know your name, it just that seemed to be enough information that we can really.
That all changed when a colleague friend of ours who does research in energy medicine, she has a master's degree in biomedical engineering from LSU. She was having a horrible dental pain, and this was right after the COVID lockdown and all the dentists were closed. She's 500 miles away in Tupelo, Mississippi from us, and she calls us and says, can you do your tuning fork thing on my tooth here and see if you can get me some relief? But we're going to do an experiment, because she had a medical thermography camera, an infrared camera. Says, I'm going to get in front of that camera and I'm going to do some baseline measurements. And then we're going to record how that loss of energy from my body changes as you work from on me 500 miles away. And so we did. And we have those pictures. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to put them up and share them with everybody, but those are available in some of the talks that are on our
was
site.
all like red.
Very red, lots of energy coming out. As energy leaves the body, that usually goes along with pain. It shows an extreme imbalance, acidity there that activates the neurons and so forth. And then the chewing muscles, the masticator muscles were all tense and putting off a lot of energy, trying to limit use of that area of her body. So we listened to her, we identified some energy imbalances. There was an ancestral pattern that she had inherited through the DNA from her grandfather that made her more sensitive to certain things. We made her aware of that and allowed her body to change or release that script from that grandfather and start to live her own script. And as we did all that, which took about 20 to 30 minutes, her pain went away.
And then the picture was all green.
Oh, blues and greens. There was no more energy leaving her body, so and all of her pain was gone.
Literally, that is when we found out, oh my God, we can do this at a distance? I can't believe that.
But that also gave us, those images gave us the scientific proof to be able to share with people and say, we can do this with a Zoom call kind of thing. We don't have to come to you. You can still use this to help you with your health problems. So, yeah.
That is what blew me away, folks, because you've heard me talk, and I've had him on the show a number of times, Dr. Will Spencer, and he does scalar testing, the same kind of stuff that that's commonly used, frankly, from NASA and also in the petroleum industry. Now, he uses it in the healthcare space, and he can do this remotely through pictures and stuff. And so I probably would not have been receptive to what you were talking about had I not already witnessed and saw Dr. Will from 100, 500 miles away, whatever he was. He's literally telling me the progress that we're making on a certain piece of ground. And I'm like, man, I don't even know if I trust this. So I went and got lab testing in addition to, and honestly, the lab testing was correlating, point to point with everything that he did. And so I can't wait to put you guys in front of each other because it sounds like you're doing the same thing.
Well, for people who haven't heard of scalar energy, this is basically God's energy.
Yeah.
This is the energy that comes out from the center of the universe. And it's not just energy, it's information. Yes. It's an operating system. It's frequencies. It's the biophysics, if you will. And unfortunately, in modern Western medicine, it's all about anatomy and biochemistry. You either cut it out if it's hurting you, or you poison it with a drug, or you try to change the chemistry type of thing. Nobody talks about the biophysics,
right?
Which is the operating system. Okay. And that's the energetics. That's the vibration of the system type of thing. And that's what this. So sound is a form of scalar energy, and you can tell it's scalar because it propagates in the direction that the energy is moving. Electromagnetic energy propagates at a right angle to the direction that it's moving. It goes positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. It's always at a right angle to the direction it's going. And so this is not time or space dependent.
Yeah.
And that's why when we pray, God hears those prayers immediately, because it's not time or space dependent. The energy is just there all of a sudden. So it's kind of mind blowing. But when you think that time is actually a human construct to try to explain motion or things that we see, and ultimately it was there to have things like salaries and whatnot, and put constraints on us. I haven't worn a watch in years because time to me, it's like it's everything is just relative. Okay.
Well, I did try to just use this for maybe some lottery tickets, or shall I invest my money in that? But I think I understood that God really gives us very, very precise answers and very precise information, as long as we do this with full integrity and honoring his will first.
Wanting to know the truth.
Right.
It has to be in accordance. Right. It has to be in accordance with his will.
Yeah. Otherwise, this is just going to go, like a neutral kind of sound that you don't understand. It's like, what is this? What does this mean? Yeah. It's because, our ego, I'm trying to what is going to happen 6 months from now? Is this going to, I'm going to fix everything. Well, that's not, God reminds me every day. That just, Elena, that's not how it works. You got to trust me, and you got to trust with the information you're getting today. And this is what, this is what I want you to do, is just stay humble and stay in course with my plan. And so that's what, always just honor his will, use this with integrity, basically.
Right.
Folks,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something, folks. I got to speak to these guys a couple of times. The first time, I was like, okay, well, I'm open to it. I didn't quite know what they did. The lady who sells the wellness blanket, she was blowing me up about them. Like, you got to check these guys out. You got to check them out. Which, by the way, folks, I'll have to have her on the show because Michelle, every single night, she's got that wellness blanket. She's all hugged up under it. It's her new whoopee, and I haven't even been able to try it out.
Oh, it's
So
amazing.
yeah, I mean, she loves it and she won't share it. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'll have to get around to messing with that thing here in a little bit. But I'll tell you what, folks, first time they were on with me, or we were just kind of talking, they were blowing my mind because they were already expanding on things that I kind of have a little bit of understanding about. And I mean, a little bit through Dr. Will, to a certain extent with Jack Cruz, and with several others as well. And then also being aware of Dr. Emoto's work. So I knew that there was something to this. It's funny how the Lord just puts the people in my path when I have the capacity to appreciate, I think, to a higher extent of what they're doing. We did a little experiment, and I was like, well, let's try this. And I have one glass of water that I got from the tap, which is straight from my well. And I had another glass of water that I had structured. I had put on some serious magnets. This water was off the chain. They didn't know that. So they said, okay, we'll tell you which one is good and which one isn't. Yeah, you could say that it was a 50-50 chance.
It was.
The response came out very quickly.
But we both got the same answer at the same time, and it was in a fraction of a second.
And it blew my mind because I'm like, they have no idea that the glass on the right is absolutely as good as it can possibly get. You didn't know that, but lickety split, you knew. And then later on, this is where I'm going to get into some of my own thing. I won't go into a whole lot of detail, but I was in El Salvador when they did the consultation with me, because I'm thinking, okay, before I can recommend them to everybody else, let's give this the old college try. And folks, to say that I was blown away when Michelle, she was at the beach at the time they were working on me, and couldn't believe A, how quickly they were able to do it, and B, the level of specificity they were telling me about my life. And folks, look, I've made no secret about the fact that, both my mom and dad were convicted felons. Me and my 5 brothers were raised by a 70-year-old grandmother. And honestly, there was a lot of trauma. I don't talk about it much because I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. But there were some really rough times for a period of my life. And not only did they know it, they told me the times that it happened. And I'm like, okay, there is no way you could have possibly have known that.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. No,
We didn't.
No, but your body does. And so, the way that I think of it, because, he's the genius. The way that I think of it is like, I don't know you, but God knows you. And so I am just basically asking that information to God, and I'm just kind of finding out things through your body in a way that honors his will. And so he knows you. So he just gives that information to us in a way that the tuning fork picks up on it. I can tell if there's been a spanking or an abuse or things like that, or yelling or anxiety. And just when I'm listening to that, it's interesting because the tuning fork picks up on that, that agitation, that trauma. But every time I activate it, it almost kind of smooths that part of the body that holds that information, smooths it out to where, it could be like the left lobe of your liver. There was 1 inch on the left lobe of the liver, because everybody can find trauma. You can talk about it, all of that, and you can do so many different techniques. But what we do is we find the specific area of where a specific trauma is being held, and knowing that on the cortex of the left adrenal, sometimes as people are holding that specific trauma, when you find it, it's almost like you're putting a mirror inside of yourself. It's like in front of yourself, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I had that there. Thank you, body, for letting me know. With neutrality and with a sense of, without judgment, you pick up on what happens. Just the recognition that something happened at that time. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to analyze it. You just acknowledge it. Once it's acknowledged, the body says, oh, that stuff is no longer present. I can relax now. It just brings the body, that part of the body, back in harmony again.
Right. So the first step in healing is basically awareness.
Yeah.
And when you've had a trauma and you've said, I never want to experience that again, your brain says, okay, we're not going to let you ever experience that again, because if you even think about it, it's as if it's happening again. Your physiology will react to it as if it was literally really happening right now. So it literally makes you forget. It pushes it back into, a subconscious space to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as it's there, you are now hypersensitive. It's the basis of things like PTSD and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anything like unto it, you're going to have an exaggerated reaction to it. So it keeps you off balance as a reaction, as a result. So when we can hear it and find something in somebody that we had no business knowing, and suddenly we bring it back into the daylight, the subconscious goes, oh, we've been found out. I guess we do need to become aware of it. Maybe now is a safe time. And that's what we try to do, is create a safe space for people. We're not psychologists. We don't pretend to be. We have psychologists seek us out right and left, because
we work with psychology. They love us.
In an hour of working with us, we can find things that 10 years of talk therapy is barely uncovered, kind of thing, because the body is telling us specific ages and whatnot in a safe way. And we encourage people to continue to work with their therapists and whatnot, but now they've got the tools. They've got the awareness that here's the problems and here's what needs to be addressed. So
it's so fascinating, because in my particular case, one of the lifelong triggers that I thought I had, then I just thought it was hardwired into me, was whenever somebody raises their voice to me, it automatically, I go from 0 to 100. And I thought that's just how it was. Well, checking out the work of Dr. Dispenza, I moved a little bit further on realizing that, hold on, I can change that. You mean, hold on, I got some way to fix this in myself. So I went through his program to a point, and I realized, okay, I can correct this in myself. It doesn't have to be a trigger. I just figured I was hardwired that way. I had no idea that I had any control over these things. And then it made me even more receptive when you guys are literally telling me the areas of my life from this age to this age, you had problems. and better still, okay, here's the damage it caused and here's how we undo it. So that, and the time that you did it was about an hour. I mean, it wasn't even that long.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
had I not been running my pie hole.
It's really very powerful. I think, when we connect that part of the body with God's creations, because I think God has created everything that the body needs to heal itself. And when we find out that, as we listen to the body's chemistry, we find out, oh my gosh, there is an iron deficiency or a vitamin B1 deficiency. And the person will say, well, I know that. That's why I'm trying to take my B vitamins. Well, but when I listen to a vitamin B1, God has given me specific vibration and a specific meaning, which is you are safe to start something new. And I said, well, God, what are you kidding? It's like, I don't understand. Why would that be, B1 about starting something new? Well, then I understood, because vitamin B1 is really high in lentils and black-eyed peas, which people eat on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, in New Year's resolution. But also B1 is really high in seeds. So the idea of planting the seeds. So if the person says, I'm really scared to start something new, they not only will have to take maybe, the B vitamins or not, but they will have to have seed, because the seed, when I listen to a seed, that vibration matches the missing vibration in that person's body of the message that they're trying to hear, of support, that God says, you can start the project. So specific seeds will be given to that person to really compensate for the vitamin B1 that comes out in the blood work sometimes, that, oh yes, it's low. So it's not just about finding out what's going on, but it's also finding the herb, the plant, the food in nature that resonate with what the message that the person's soul needs to hear, right?
Yeah, so once we find an imbalance, we can actually present options for treatment with the tuning fork and listen to all these options. So we can, it's just as fast as we tap our hand, we can go through a list of potential remedies. And when we get to the right one, the system changes on the tuning fork. It's as if the disease is no longer there.
Yeah.
Everything becomes harmonious. Sometimes it's even, we call it the angel tones. It's all these wonderful overtones. It's like the roof just came off the room kind of thing. And it's this,
Yeah.
type of thing. And then when we, make the person aware of that and they accept and trust us and try that, then miracles happen in their health.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of almost a biofeedback type of a system to where it's not only diagnostic, but it's therapeutic as well. And we can do it with prescription drugs. We can do it with nutritional remedies. We can do it with colors. We can do it with aromatherapies, all kinds of different
and
therapies.
Sometimes the prescription drug is needed. Sometimes it's needed. And we can tell, okay, at this point in your life, this is needed. But then that's what we can do, if to kind of like bring balance back in the body.
Another huge service we do for our clients is we look at all their nutritional substances, because they've been told or believe that all these things are good for them. Well, we tell them what their body actually thinks about them. And sometimes it's amazing. Yeah. It's like, these 3 or 4 things are helping you, but
these others are not.
Just adding stress to the system. So
see, that's the beauty. That's so much the beauty of your work. And what I appreciated so much is that I'm one of those people. I was sitting here eating a whole lot of fermented food, which with my condition certainly wasn't helping things at the time. And what was really, really helpful is that you gave me a step-by-step, easy to follow protocol that any monkey could do. If somebody like me could figure it out, don't eat this stuff, at least for a period of time. And this is what you ought to be taking. So my sleep is, in recent memory, I don't know that it's ever been better. And I'm only on this thing so far 12 days, when the stuff finally arrived. And then, of course, I had some shipping faux pas that kind of screwed up a couple of things. But I'm already seeing the needle move in a massive way. I mean, like I was telling Dr. Cruz down there in El Salvador, I couldn't even believe I was able to do what I was able to do with unobstructed sunlight and with highly magnetic soil. And then now that I'm back here in a place where, I'll be honest with you, when they're sitting here dumping this stuff, and I'm wondering if there's a solution to some of this stuff. When I go out here and I do the work I do, working with Dane Wigington and a number of other people that are talking about the toxicity in our environment and how it's intentionally done.
Yes. So, when you look at the chemtrail, all that stuff, when I ask God, I listen to it, and it does have a vibration. It does have a very interesting vibration. So, everybody's talking about the aluminum. I can definitely,
yes.
This one tells me with certainty there's aluminum there. Okay. So we've got that aluminum being dumped. And what does aluminum mean? Aluminum is on the crust of the earth, protecting the earth, together with another mineral that is silica. That's also protective.
And those are a complementary pair. They basically kind of a yin-yang relationship.
Exactly. Silica is, I am safe and protected, and I can handle any kind of weather storm, emotional, political, physical, that comes to me in my life. I can handle anything. With aluminum is when, it's something that's actually trying to isolate us from one another. So when we can't interact, we almost kind of have a shield. With silica, which is actually glass, it's almost like I can interact with the world and I can be one with the world. I can see everything. With aluminum, is a sense of isolation.
It's like pulling the blinds shut.
That sometimes can affect certain people.
Which are usually made out of aluminum, interestingly.
Yeah. But it can affect some people more than others. And the people that it affects the most is people that sometimes have had some traumas that the body wasn't ready to handle. So they compartmentalize something that was very traumatic, or where they feel, a sense of like someone died or something really bad happened when they were children, and they're worried about what's going to happen. So they block the things that they are scared or afraid of, block them out of their life. And aluminum overall brings a sense of fake safety to where we just kind of separate ourselves from one another. And so as we get dumped, it actually brings isolation and separation. And so too much aluminum is not good. So generally what we do is really working on what is the part of their life, because this is like people that say, like, you know, in Italy, yeah, I'm in Italy. It's like, oh, I'm from the left party, political party. No, I'm from the right. I will never be on that side. I don't understand you. So where there's an extreme point of view where we think that whatever other people believe, I will never understand, or I'm afraid of, because it's something I don't understand. Sometimes people say that about us. They say, I don't want you to work on me because I don't understand what you're doing. I can guarantee you that all those people have high aluminum toxicity. They're afraid of something they do not know, but also, you know, have been dumped that it brings more of that fear and brings more of that isolation. And so, you know, being together, taking silica, the silica that's in food, in herbs, and boron as well. That's another, I'm giving you like the remedy, the boron and the silica.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask you that. What is the remedy? I mean, or can you specifically get into that?
No, absolutely. So, you know, first of all,
this is strictly for educational purposes.
This is for,
we're not diagnosing
we're not diagnosing. This is just for education, but
used for your own entertainment.
To protect, you know, generally to protect ourselves, we need more silica than aluminum. So eating foods high in silica, foods high in silica generally are like
long and thin.
Long and thin. So bamboo, but that's not, you can't eat bamboo. Green beans, cucumbers, zucchini, celery. That's why, you know, I think the medical medium has something going on, because you eat celery, you get a ton of silica.
Yeah.
But
not just potassium.
But yes, celery is fantastic. But you want to actually eat it. You don't want to juice it.
But your grains are high in silica too. Most grasses. So anything that has as a plant is a long, thin thing. Structurally, that's very challenging. How is it going to be able to withstand the wind? Bamboo is a great example. I mean, there's got monsoons and whatever those things. It's almost impossible to destroy a bamboo. It's one of the plants that's highest in silica, and that's what gives us its strength. So all your grasses, your wheat, your corn, and so forth, even the corn stalk looks like a bamboo in the segmentation and everything. And then it has the corn silk, which is high in silica as well. So the problem is that as we process these things, the silica is on the surface, just like it's on the crust of the earth. You don't find it deep in the earth. It's close to the surface, like the sand on the beach is all silica. We remove that. We lose that when you process things, unfortunately. But it's what protects it from dehydration. It protects things from freezing. All the evergreen trees, what do their leaves look like? They're long, thin needles because they're high in silica. That's what keeps them from freezing. That's what keeps them from dehydrating. The cactus, which has needles, also very high on the outside with silica. That's how it holds its internal moisture in. And it does that for us and for our cells as well.
Yeah, silica is basically the outer layer of all different parts of our body, even our gut, our nails, our skin, our teeth, our hair. The outer layer that has helped our body basically weather all kinds of infections and you know, changes in the weather and cold and hot and all of that, but it's also what helps us weather emotional trauma as well. So when we were little, and if we were exposed to an emotional trauma at a time where our silica wasn't fully developed, we didn't have a good amount of silica, then it chronically stays low for the rest of your life. And then if you never knew about it, you will develop more predisposition to absorb aluminum and have aluminum toxicity.
Yeah.
Okay. So the silica is a huge part, you know, of this kind of eating the food high in silica and supplementing with it. But the boron is even more important. I know that there's several doctors out there that really advertise, you know, say boron glycinate, you got to take at least 10 milligrams a day. The boron is what's in the center. So if you cut an apple or a pear and it's like
mushy in the center of it, but the outside looks perfect. You know, it wasn't an insect that got in there, but it's all, you know, mealy and brown in the center.
That's low boron.
That's a boron deficiency.
That's a boron. So if I have a rope If I have a rope that I'm holding,
With
and
a ball on it.
at the end of the rope there's a ball, if I spin around, the ball is silica, right? It spins around me. If you don't have me, I am boron. If you don't have me, where's the silica gonna go? So the boron is the centrifugal force. Centripetal force that helps the silica not be a fugitive. Centrifugal. You know, I don't want the silica to run away. So really don't go out and say, I'm going to buy, you know, silica supplements or all that. You got to get, you know, eating the core without the seeds, obviously, the core of food, the core to get that boron levels up, or supplementing with boron. Then you can go and feel that boron is feeling at home. When I listen to boron, God says, this is your at home. The silica is, can I go to the window and look outside? Can I open that window? Right? You have to have both. And then the aluminum slowly gets eliminated and decreases in the body.
Right.
But you have to have a balance of those two. I would have never known all of this if I hadn't, with curiosity, I literally go around and I love listening to apples and pears, and I go and listen to the trunk of a tree and leaves. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, I want to learn from God's creations. So I learned from books first, and then I only remember like 60% of the books. There's so much information, but then I memorized everything when I learned from the book of God, really from the knowledge that it's out there, by using this to find information that is not in the books, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you what does make sense is having y'all back on recurring, because I got 30 questions over here that I wrote down for you, and I didn't ask you one of them. I didn't ask a single one of them. And now when this goes out to the audio format, I mean, we don't have a large audience right now in this live format right now, but when it goes out to the audio format, I mean, people are going to absolutely be blowing up my email saying, hey, I'd like to know this. I'd like to know that. So we are definitely going to have you on, but I got to ask this question because this is like a fun, weird, kind of crazy question that I have for you. Now, do you have to have someone's consent to determine the nature of their health? For example, okay, so we sat down to a meeting, we all agreed. Let's say there's a politician on TV and you're wondering about the medical or the cognitive capabilities of that person. Could you do that on that person without their consent? Is that something you could do?
Well, that's a very good question. So, you know, I think that, you know, sometimes when I might, you know, my son is now an adult, when he goes to the doctor, says, you know, Mom, I've got some acne and such, and the doctor is recommending this, and you know, can you check on the integrity of the doctor or see if this is really good for me? So, you know, is this drug really good? Is the doctor got good intentions? If it's something that's going to affect, you know, your personal health or the health of a loved one, you have the loved one asking you for help, and it's something that's blood related, or if it's my husband, it seems that God always gives me the answer very precisely. But if I ask in general, oh, is the politician, I tried, is the politician telling the truth? You know, God just says, you want to know too much, Elena. That's
No, I mean, I'm talking concerning their medical wherewithal. I mean,
the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
Should we do it is the more important question, because it's a matter of integrity.
Yes.
You know, are we doing this within the bounds of the system that God created?
Right.
Okay. And so we've learned to try to you know, stay within those bounds. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's a delicate field.
Yeah.
But we yes.
Yeah, we may want to know for our own curiosity, but we certainly wouldn't feel at liberty to share that knowledge or spread that abroad without the person's consent.
No, I totally get it. With what came out with the Epstein files, I'm wondering if we shouldn't pass every last person running the office through you guys first to find out if these people are crazy or what are they capable of.
We do have some CEOs who had health issues who were first our health clients who, when they understood that this is literally a truth detector, if they're looking at hiring somebody at hundreds of thousands of dollars of salary per year,
Yeah.
they will actually run their CVs by us, and we can interface their energy with the energy of that company, and we can tell them at all the different levels that it lines up and which ones it potentially doesn't.
And the good news is that, I always thought, well, is this ethical or not? But the information that God is revealing is actually the beautiful strengths that each person, there's never anything negative. I say this person's a great communicator. This person's really good at putting people together. This is great at managing, charts. And this is not very experienced, but is going to learn very quickly, so that the CEO knows where to put these people in their company. This is not about, this is bad, don't hire. Yeah. It just, and it's incredible how every time the CEO comes back and says, the person you said not much experience, but they learn quickly, that's exactly what they did. Yeah. And I put them in the right place in the company because of you. Thank you. Yeah. And it's just, to me, it's mind blowing that, again, so it's an integrity. It's just really kind of revealing some of the strengths of these people and actually eventually putting these people in the right department within the company. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're coming to a close here, and folks, I'm telling you, I'm only sharing just a small amount of what I've experienced so far. Now, I'm currently going through, what they put me on right now. Like I said, I'm already seeing massive improvement, and I was dealing with things I didn't even tell them about. I never met them in person, and I'm still blown away that they were telling me things about myself and my conditions that I'm going through right now, hopefully improving. It seems to be. And I'll let you know how it's all working out. But for the folks out there that are just new to all this, look, I know that it might sound like a bridge too far, but folks, I don't bring you anything to which I don't already check out myself. Now, clearly, you're going to have a number of people that are going to want to reach out to you as soon as this goes to the audio format. How do they do that? Or do you have any availability? How do they get a hold of you?
We're already pretty popular. We kind of run an energetic urgent care most of the time, and we're trying to develop some healthy boundaries so that we can sleep sometimes. But that being said, so we are the Vita Institute. Our website is Vita, VITA.science. Mm-hmm. And so you can find about our practice and reach out to us. We encourage people to share their emails with us. So we do, send out important information to people on our email list. We believe that education is the way that we're going to be able to leverage the things that we've learned using this tuning fork, how all these things in the body are interconnected. And we, God has told us that it's time to share all that knowledge with people so that they can make good decisions and be empowered to make the right choices. And that's basically what we did with you, Billy. Okay.
So we created a bunch of little courses. So like people wanted to know about the chemtrail. What do I do about that? What do I do about histamine? What about anxiety? What about depression? What about an infectious disease?
Now we haven't done chemtrails yet, but
no, but that's now. But
would you mind if we tell people what the difference was for you, Billy, why you're sleeping so much better?
No, please do. I mean, are you going to bust out those?
No, I mean, this is what we heard. So you had an abnormal relationship with histamine.
Yeah.
So histamine, we tend to think of as just being something that has to do with allergies, but histamine is a messenger in the body. It's actually a neurotransmitter. But it's amazing, the people that do neurology and neuroscience, they don't even talk about histamine. I go to those meetings and I've never heard histamine talked about as a neurotransmitter. But I know about it because I went out and sought out that knowledge. It's out there. And so histamine is literally what keeps us awake. And so if you have too much histamine between your ears, you can't sleep. Well, you were doing healthy things for your body, or what you thought was healthy, with all these fermented vegetables. Well, when you give a protein source to a bacteria or microorganisms, they're going to digest it. They're going to break down those proteins and release the amino acids, and they can turn histidine, which is amino acid, into histamine. And the longer time they have to do it, the higher the histamine content is going to be. And so your diet was a very high histamine diet. we can further listen to the body and say, well, are the usual histamine deactivation mechanisms intact? And yours weren't. And so those are the kinds of things that we tried to fix with you. We have actually, since we talked to you, we decided to, well, let's see what people are looking for on the internet for answers, kind of thing. So we used some of the AI searches and whatever. And I think it was like 80% of the top 10 searches of people asking for health related symptoms on the internet were potentially all related to too much histamine in their body.
Anxiety, depression, insomnia,
Dizziness, heartburn, indigestion,
eczema,
irritable gut, allergies in general. So all those things. So we've actually, since we talked to you, started putting a course together on our relationship with histamine. And so that's what we'd like to offer to your listeners. And so if you'll send us your email, you'll get a free little mini course on histamine and what it is. And then we also have a
free ebook as well.
Mm-hmm. We have a wonderful book that talks about how our body relates to all the minerals of nature. And there's 12 of them, one for each month. And it's the cycle that nature goes through with the plants. You might be interested in looking at this with your agricultural background as well. But our bodies do that as well. And when we step onto the stage of the earth, at that particular time, those minerals that are active at that time become our dominant forces, not only for our health, but also our emotional makeup. It's kind of like the filter that we look at the world through, which affects our behavior and the way we respond.
Nobody really thinks, so at every month, what do I need every month of the year to keep myself in harmony, to keep myself healthy, to live within the rhythm of God's creation? What do I do? Because every month, literally, and every season, there is important information that we are not aware of, we're not in sync with, that helps us not only stay in balance, but also if we get sick in December versus when we get sick in February, you need completely different remedies.
Yeah. Different time
So
of the
that
year,
is all
cycle.
That is all information that we're giving to our members.
Right.
We are going to have to, I mean, I hope y'all are open to it, because I'm going to have you on multiple times.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
because I guarantee people are going to blow me up when they hear what you got saying here. And then plus I'm realizing now, after having spoken to you, we could have put this out on live on YouTube on a regular channel, because I don't think you said anything that would get us in trouble. So we'll have to do that next time. I do want to ask you, well.
Oh, well, maybe giving a solution for the chemtrail.
No, actually, we can talk chemtrails all day. You just can't talk zinc. You can't talk about elements on the periodic table that might actually help cure something. So Barbara O'Neill helped me feel that one out.
Well,
but I'm wondering.
With that too. So.
Yes.
One last question, because I know somebody's going to ask it. So let me just go ahead and preempt it. Is there any way for people to train? Is there an online training course to learn what it is you do so they could do this at home?
Yeah.
So we call it sonic alignment is what we call what we do. And we've given classes. We've
muscle testing on steroids.
It is muscle testing on steroids. Yeah, muscle testing is a real thing. It's a way to interact with the subconscious. But it is an open energy system, unfortunately, and so any extraneous energies can skew the results, and so there's some problems with it. This is its own energy system type of thing, and I don't have to connect my energy with your energy, Billy. The tuning fork does it for me, so there's no energy transfer between us as I'm doing this. So people who do lots of muscle testing are absorbing energy from these sick people.
They get exhausted.
And they get exhausted. They get their own health problems. And a lot of times they end up coming to us. We have a lot of healthcare providers that are our clients that we're trying to help them understand these principles.
Yeah, this is a little bit, we find it more objective, and it's not a yes or no answer. It gives you the quality of what is going on.
Yeah.
Not yes or no. It's like what's going on here, and it gives you information. So yes, we're teaching that, but bear in mind that it's almost like going to China. I mean, I don't speak any Mandarin, but learning Mandarin, people sometimes like, well, I want to understand all of the sounds of all bacteria, of all sounds. Well, it just takes time, At the beginning, you learn, okay, this is that 3 or 4 or 5 pieces of information, and you learn how to say hi, hello, goodbye, I am well, or I need to use the bathroom. You're going to learn that. but learning a full language, that takes time. But yeah, we do teach that.
We were fortunate in that we were both interested in sound at the time and had a background in, basic background when we met each other 9 years ago. And so because of that, we were able to independently use the tuning fork and try different frequencies and things until we found the one that seems to read the universe the best. And then as we would work on people, we still do this, we will listen separately and then we will compare what we found. And because we were finding the same thing, that helped us to gain confidence that this is real. This is a real thing. We can't be, it's just not random. Okay.
You guys were literally, y'all were
that,
finishing each other's sentences when you were working on me. And I was like, well, am I really witnessing this?
But I tell you, the thing that this has helped the most is mothers of little children and people that have pets or that you don't know what's going on. Because if a child is crying and going to listen to one ear, the belly or the ear, and you find out this is something that it's easily you can learn. Right. This is fine, then you listen to the other ear and this is going out of control, then you know that you may need to see your doctor to check for the right ear of your child. And it's something going on with the right ear, or that that is something in the lower part of the abdomen, maybe the constipated versus something in the stomach, and the baby can't talk. Yeah. So this has been lifesaver to learn. And this, just to see if an area is off balance, you don't need to be studying this for years like we did. You don't need a large, language vocabulary. So that has been very helpful. Sometimes people listening to a vitamin C versus a glutathione and are saying, wow, the glutathione is so good for me. The vitamin C is actually hurting me. So listening to your own supplements, your own food, and realizing there's something for you that you thought was really good, but it's actually not. Yeah. That is easy.
Yeah. So we really like to empower people and get away from this dependency-based system that's all around us. And so that we hope to see more and more of this as the medicine of the future. Where people have the tools, no batteries required even, to be able to make good decisions for their health.
Yeah. Blowing my mind up one side and down the other, folks. I'm telling you, we're going to definitely have them back. I mean, I got a feeling these are going to be some of the most frequent guests that we have on here because they've been blowing my mind from the word go. And just one more time, tell everybody where they can find you for the folks that are, listening online.
HTTPS Vita, Vita.science. Our email is happytohelp, all one word spelled out, at Vita.science. And then we have we're on the social media as well. We have the Vita Institute on Facebook. And
can I say about the biolinguistics? We are also on another Facebook page called the Biolinguistics. Mm-hmm. Biolinguistics is a group where people ask me questions about, I have this genetic mutation, or I have an iron deficiency, or I have a vitamin B6 deficiency. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is the meaning behind it? Biolinguistics is where I explore the meaning of different imbalances in the body. And that is information also very important as the person's trying to work on that specific deficiency, to understand the emotional and the belief system behind that deficiency.
Right. And then we have a platform on Thinkific, which is our educational platform. So, and those things are available through our website.
Yeah, you can check that out. Yeah. But if you have any question, email happytohelp@Vita, La Vita, happytohelp@Vita.science.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, folks.
La dolce vita.
The sweet life.
That's what I'm talking about. So, hey, I can't thank y'all enough for coming on, folks. I'm telling you, go check them out. You're going to be glad you did. If you wouldn't mind hanging around for a minute, I got a couple of questions for you afterwards. But hey, folks, we're going to put for the ones that are listening to the audio format, we're going to put everything in the description box down below. As I said, I'm sure a lot of you are scratching your heads right now and you're wondering, okay, I got to do a little more research. Go check out their website. A lot of awesome stuff over there. You know the deal, y'all. Until next time, stay alert, stay alive. On this funky beat, permaculture, PIMP,
let's dance and dream. Cash, keep it clean. Yeah, with control, move with the equals. Go for swagger in this sacred space.